Welcome back to the Ultimate Movie Recaps. Thanks for supporting us. Today I'm going to explain a 2020 American apocalyptic thriller survival disaster film called Greenland. Watch out for the spoilers. Just enjoy and take care. As the movie starts, we observe construction activity taking place atop a massive skyscraper. Two men are discussing some delays, and the boss, John, is upset about the state of affairs. A short while later, as he is traveling, he hears on the radio about an interstellar comet that will pass close to Earth. He arrives in a suburban neighborhood and hesitates to enter a house as he approaches it. However, he walks into a room where his wife Ally is busy on a treadmill, and they have an uneasy chat about their son Nathan and his forthcoming birthday party. When the son comes, he is happy to see him, and they enter his room, where they discuss a drawing that he did of the approaching comet named Clark. The boy's diabetic condition is discovered as they are lying on the bed and talking about John's divorce from his mother. Later, the three of them sit in a living room watching the news about a comet that is rapidly approaching Earth and leaving a trail of numerous ice fragments in its path. At night, we observe John entering the house and occupying the guest room. The following morning, John wakes up and begins listening to the news about the comet. They are asserting that there is no need for concern, despite the fragments of the comet impacting the Earth. Ally walks in while he is cleaning the grill in preparation for the impending party and tells him that he needs to head to the store to pick up a few things. He takes his kid along with him, and while they are still in the parking lot, everybody turns their attention to the sky. They notice that the comet is getting closer. While they are shopping inside the store, John's phone flashes with a presidential alert, and then he receives an automated call. No other person in the store receives the same alert. He receives information that he has been selected for relocation to an emergency shelter with his wife and son. On the TV in the house, the same alert is displayed, but Ally doesn't see it. John and his son hastily exit the store. He notices military vehicles and aircrafts flying in the opposite direction as they travel home. The guests have already assembled for the celebration by the time they get home. John approaches Ally in the kitchen and inquires as to whether she received the same alert. She dismisses him, thinking it's simply a test, but he informs her about the military personnel he encountered on the way, who seemed concerned about what was happening with the comet. They both return to the living room, where everyone is gathered to watch the news in anticipation of seeing the fragment of the comet strike the Atlantic Ocean. No one is concerned as an image of the fragment is displayed on the television screen, and the children begin counting until they reach 1 in anticipation of the fragment's impact in the ocean. Nothing occurs for a brief moment, however, there is a minor earthquake, and John exits the house. As he watches a flock of birds fly away, suddenly an intense shockwave hits him and is also felt within the house. He returns inside and sees everyone terrified but still watching the news. The newsreader informs that the fragment, previously expected to land in the ocean near Bermuda, instead strikes Tampa in Florida, vaporizing the city along with most of the state. At the same time as an orbital image of the comet striking the planet is being shown on the news, people speculate more fragments could strike the planet. John once again receives the presidential alert on his phone, which is also displayed on the television in front of his family and neighbors. None of the others are getting the same message, which states that John can't take anyone else to the shelter except his family, and further he also gets a security code on his phone to enter the plane. The others hurry out of there in panic. John and Ally are preparing to leave but are concerned about having enough insulin for the boy. The kid inquires about his grandfather. While Ally is preparing food and observing the shocking news, John heads outside to bring Nathan, who says that the sky is on fire. As they are heading out of the driveway, they notice that none of their friends received the same call. One of them informs the family that according to the news, a sizable chunk of the comet known as Planet Killer will strike the Earth in 2 days. Another neighbor runs up to them and begs to take their daughter as they are leaving. But John refuses, and the couple continues their journey while debating the possibility that even if they had taken her with them, she would be denied access to the air base. Later on, as they are driving, they notice that people have already started looting the stores. All of a sudden, they come upon a major traffic jam on the highway, and John decides to travel in the other direction by using a side road. While on the journey, they hear on the radio that there have been additional impacts, and more are expected, which might wipe out entire cities or perhaps produce an event on the level of extinction. When they arrive at the military-guarded airbase, they notice people gathered in front of the gates because they are not allowed to enter. The family must force their way through a mob before they can use the barcode they were given to gain access. As soon as they get inside, they are provided with wristbands to use as a form of personal identification, and when forced to consolidate their belongings into one bag, they discover that Nathan's insulin is missing. John leaves them alone to retrieve the medicine from the car. Ally alerts soldiers about her husband, but she also tells them about the boy's diabetes instead, which presents a problem. As a result, she is taken to a superior officer, who warns her that someone with a chronic ailment is not allowed to be on the plane. Ally makes an effort to plead with her, but her attempts are unsuccessful. She and her kid are eventually let out of the base. Meanwhile, John returns and heads towards the plane in search of his family, completely oblivious to what's going on. John boards one of the planes that is ready to take off but fails to reach Ally. One of the passengers notices the insulin and informs him about the rules concerning chronic illnesses. John becomes terrified and requests to be taken out of the plane. The base is abruptly breached, and civilians begin shooting at the soldiers. The plane that John was exiting has a fuel leak, so he urges everyone to get out and flee from there. The plane explodes, setting off a chain reaction. John learns that his family has been denied. As the two of them return to their car, Nathan is already insulin deficient. The pandemonium in front of the base continues, so John takes his time getting back to his car. Once there, he discovers a message from Ally stating that she is driving Nathan to her father's house, so John pursues them on the road. Meanwhile, Ally and the kid arrive at a pharmacy, where she tests his blood sugar, and they search for insulin for him. Suddenly, a gang enters and begins shooting, killing everyone at that place. They manage to flee and get into a car with a couple who promise to drive them part of the way to her father's house. The couple with whom Ally is traveling begins to act strangely. They eventually ditch her on the highway, pushing her out of the car after stealing her wristband and speeding away with her son. In the meantime, John manages to get a ride inside the truck, heading toward the north. During the journey, John strikes up a conversation with one of the other men, named Colin, who reveals to him that they are on their way to Canada, where the driver knows someone who has access to a jet and can transport them to the shelters. The military appeared to have installed the shelters in Greenland. He instructs him to locate his family and come meet him in Canada so they may board one of the planes. Another passenger in the truck notices John's wristband and demands that John give it to him. However, when John refuses, an immense brawl breaks out. The vehicle crashes and swirls as a result of the fighting, throwing the people from the rear. Despite this, the struggle goes on, and John kills the man. Unfortunately, Colin gets killed in the collision. In the meantime, Ally boards another vehicle and travels towards the base to pursue the people who abducted Nathan. When the couple reach the base at the airport, Nathan is still spotted with them. At the first checkpoint, as they show their wristbands, the kid informs the military that those people are not his parents, and the soldier escorts them away before bringing him inside. Later, Ally arrives and searches for him from one stop to the next, from one medical unit to another. She eventually locates him and learns that he has been given insulin. The nurse promises to assist Ally in locating a military transport to her father's city and to provide medicine for Nathan. John explores a house illegally in search of food and water. He promptly checks the news, only to discover that the primary impact is anticipated in less than 24 hours. He discovers a car key and drives quickly to Ally's dad's house. When he comes across him, he is seen playing cards with his friends and further inquires about his daughter. They conclude that they must put their disagreements aside and work together to find Ally and Nathan. In the meantime, Ally stops at a gas station and makes a call to her dad. They are finally reunited with the rest of their family when John and her father travel to pick them up. When they all return to the house, they discover that the information John had obtained about the shelters was true. He was successful in persuading Ally that they must travel to Canada and test their luck. They make preparations for the trip, but they are unable to persuade Ally's father to accompany them. Suddenly, a large fragment of the comet crashes down nearby, compelling them to leave immediately. Ally's dad hands John a gun and wishes him good luck staying behind as they drive away. John and Ally reconcile with each other while they are still in the car and promise to be together. They pause in the middle of the road for a blockade as fragments of the comet begin to rain down on them from all directions. John pulls away from the queue of cars, but debris is flying in every direction. Ally moves to the back of the vehicle to protect Nathan while John searches for cover. They stop close to a bridge, where other people are also taking refuge. He risks his life and runs to a burning car to assist a stranger. Later that night, the family resumes their journey and enters Canada. While searching for the airport, they are informed by radio that the comet's largest fragment will make an impact somewhere in Western Europe. This will create tsunamis and surface winds traveling faster than the speed of sound, eventually destroying all the continents as the debris rains down, killing more than 75% of life on Earth. As they drive, they see one plane getting off and another one about to take off. They continue to pursue the second one, and John manages to bring the jet to a halt by driving directly in front of it. The plane stops in front of their car, and an angry pilot confronts the family. He argues that the plane is full and he cannot take any more passengers, but eventually agrees to take only Nathan and Allison. Allison eventually convinces the pilot to take all of them. Even though the plane is full, fellow survivors make space for them. They manage to rest a while and are grateful to be on their way to safety. As the plane approaches Greenland, another large fragment strikes off the coast. The subsequent shock wave causes the plane to crash into the base of a mountain in the valley. John checks the cockpit. Only one pilot is barely alive but quickly succumbs to his injuries. John tells the survivors that he has seen a military plane land about a mile away. He leads his family and the survivors to the nearby airbase. The military personnel assist them as the survivors run to safety along the underground corridors. The family embraces themselves as they reach the bunkers. The countdown to extinction commences. The comet enters the atmosphere following its impact, and we see flashbacks of their lives and loved ones in happier times. The cities of Sydney, Paris, Mexico City, and Chicago are shown in total ruin. 9 months later, the Greenland station attempts to make radio contact with other potential survivors. The bunker doors slowly open, allowing all the other survivors to see the radically changed landscape. They see a pair of birds flying around, indicating that the air is clear. There appear to be no signs of radiation. The survivors wait for clearance to exit the base. Worldwide radio communication has commenced again. The all-clear is given, and the survivors step slowly onto the Earth. An orbital view of Earth reveals a massive crater where Clark impacted. Several smaller craters dot the planet's surface. Greenland finally makes contact with other stations around the globe, and they are all glad to be alive. This marks the end of the movie, and thanks for supporting the channel.